Welcome to the Operations Science Podcast, where the art and science of operational excellence come to life through captivating stories of triumph, challenge, and transformation from the front lines of industry. Our distinguished guests, from manufacturing pioneers and medical device innovators to aerospace visionaries, diagnostic lab leaders, and major capital project leaders, unveil the hidden patterns and powerful insights that drive exceptional results in the complex world of operations. Join us on this journey of discovery as we explore the brilliant minds behind the systems that make our world work and uncover the leadership secrets that could revolutionize your approach to operations forever. Here is your host, Ed Pound.
Our guest today is a senior project manager in the medical device world who spends her days orchestrating complex global programs that turn ideas into safe, reliable products in patients' hands. She helps lead the development of advanced drug delivery devices, such as platform pen injectors for self-administration of therapies like insulin and obesity treatments, working with teams in Denmark, China, and India, coordinating with multiple sites in Europe and the U.S. to move from early concept to full-scale manufacturing. With a background that spans business and technology, she brings a strong combination of analytical rigor and people-focused leadership to her work. In addition to the technical side, she invests heavily in building trust across cultures and geographies, aligning objectives, clarifying decisions, and creating an environment where diverse teams feel empowered to speak up, challenge, and collaborate. Welcome to today's podcast, Diana Dimitrova. Hey, Diana, how are you?
Hello, good afternoon, Ed. Thank you for having me as your guest today, and thank you for the lovely introduction.
Well, it's well earned. It's well earned. I can't wait to share your experience here. I know we've got a lot to talk about. So, to get started, can you describe your current role as a senior project manager and the main program you're leading today?
Yes, I'm a senior project manager and currently lead and work on diverse programs in the medical device field, including large-scale and platform initiative focused on development of a platform product for self-administration of injectable medication. And those complex problems include work in collaboration with global cross-functional teams. And in my case, this is Denmark, Europe, China, India, and the US.
Wow, so that's a lot of time zones. So, what does a typical work week look like for you when you're coordinating against across so many time zones?
Yes, having teams spread across different geographic locations require careful weekly meetings, planning, and consideration of different time zones. Typically, core overlap hours are identified to schedule regular team meetings and program updates to maximize participation. Usually, my early mornings are packed with meetings involving work streams from other geographic regions, while meetings with teams from US usually are scheduled for late mornings or afternoons. Afternoons are usually calmer, so I can focus on different tasks.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a coordination effort just in itself. So when we talked earlier, you said one of the biggest challenges was cultural differences. What did you notice in those first months when you first started working across all these different cultures, and how do you bridge those gaps?
Yes, working with teams across different geographic locations and diverse cultures can introduce additional challenges to the program. Team members may have different ways of working, communication preferences, low context versus high context, and different decision making style, more top down.
When you say low context versus high context, elaborate a little bit on that. What does that mean?
Low context, this is usually when the specific culture prioritize direct communication and explicit communication. And high context communication is a little bit more subtle, indirect. You have to learn to read between the lines, body language. It's a very subtle communication, more sophisticated. So there are team members emphasizing on those both different way of communication and different decision making styles. Some of them may prefer rapid decision makings, others more consensual, and we have to acknowledge those differences and be really agile and apply situational leadership. Those teams could be really very insightful and creative, but to make them work efficiently, it requires intentional effort, careful management, and oversight, especially in the beginning. It takes some time to build trust and cohesive teamwork. I would say the first step is to openly acknowledge really the presence of cultural differences and their potential impact on the team collaboration. It's important to be clear and explicit about how you expect to organize the teamwork and what communication style you prefer. I would say multicultural teams really need low context processes, as I mentioned earlier. This means clear agenda, explicit communication, good record keeping and documentation practices. Leave no space for ambiguities or misunderstanding. And second, invest in building relationships and trust activities beyond day-to-day activity and day-to-day tasks. For example, organizing different teamworks, trust building activities, if possible, face to face, especially in the beginning, allowing the team members to interact openly, communicate, get to know each other, share something particular about their specific culture, how they celebrate different holidays. Things like this really build empathy and increase awareness.
That's interesting. So when you're working with these teams, you are very intentional about some of the early meetings are we just talk about what our cultural differences are and communication styles are. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Well, actually it's so simple. It's brilliant. I mean, I've worked with cross cultural teams and companies where it's kind of like you just get on the phone and we got these guys in India, and you send something to them that afternoon, they'll get it back to you the next morning. But yeah, that's a great practice and great insight to actually.
Yeah, it's really exciting and interesting to see those relationships develop.
Yeah, so that sounds like those are when those relationships develop. I mean, that's one of the key turning points when you get to a high performing team. Are there others in terms of the development of teamwork?
Yes, I could say there are many things that would potentially bring a high performing team, but if I have to summarize, first of all, creating a friendly and positive environment where everybody really feels respected, appreciated, and able to express ideas openly. Establishing a culture of accountability, inclusive and effective communication, actively engaging team members in problem solving and decision making to understand various perspectives, allow constructive dialogue and healthy challenge process. The second thing I would say is having consistent application and maintenance of standardized project management tools and documentation practices across all sites. It's really crucial to have a common understanding, and that would streamline the processes and improve efficiency tremendously. It is important that everyone understand the program scope, objectives, and deliverables, and how they can contribute in the best possible way to those goals and objectives.
Okay.
Still, while applying economic thinking and principle entrepreneurship in everything they do. I think those are the three main focus.
What I heard was, first of all, establish your differences and similarities and ways of thinking and meeting, and just acknowledging the cultural differences, and then making sure that everybody understands what the tools are to be used to manage the project, and then having standard practices to follow up and monitor progress. Is that a good summary?
Absolutely, absolutely. You really summarize it very well. Yes.
Wow, well, that it sounds like it's something you gained through a lot of experience.
Yeah. Repetition.
Well, we have to talk about the latest and greatest trend, which is artificial intelligence. How do you see AI affecting or helping your work now, and where do you see it going in the future?
Well, I don't consider myself an expert on artificial intelligence, but from what I can say, that nowadays AI is utilized for different data analytics and generation of data-driven insights, processing large amount of documentation, summarizing large text, and highlighting main points. Digital solutions are used to create digital twins for modeling and simulations, helping reduce both the cost and time associated with physical testing. And for the future, I believe the scope of AI application will continue to grow profoundly. transforming the way we conduct businesses by delivering more sufficient solutions and fostering innovations.
Yeah, I definitely think it's well, it just makes you a lot more productive because I've always said that it makes it's easier to edit than it is to compose, and particularly when you're working on documentation. I love AI. I use AI. I don't trust AI at all. And so,
I believe it will become more reliable in the future.
yeah, well, that would be a great benefit.
It would not completely replace the human intellect and creativity. It will complement it, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that's the whole, people were like, oh, why do I need operation science? Well, you need operation science because you need to know if AI is lying to you or telling you stuff that is going to get you in trouble. And, there, to your point, you can't substitute the human element to make sure, because those are the people who are affected by the decisions. And yeah, maybe in the future it'll get more reliable, but we're not there yet.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so let's get back to project management. Time to market is one of your top priorities. When you're making trade-offs, how do you balance speed, cost, and scope, but considering patient safety and the quality of the product delivered?
Patient safety and product quality must never be compromised despite pressures to accelerate delivery. This involves adhering strictly to regulatory requirements, biocompatibility standards, and comprehensive testing protocols, enabling efficient cross functional collaboration between regulatory, quality, engineering, and project teams to ensure alignment of priorities and risk management early in the product development life cycle is important to avoid potential rework or any delays. And that early integration allows for identification and resolutions of issues before they even arise or escalate. And then as I mentioned, using a digital solutions for cutting cost and time associated with physical testing could be also a good solution.
Okay. So you talked about being very intentional about risk management, anticipating uncertainties, and developing mitigation strategies. Talk a little bit about that. How do you do structure risk management on a large device program?
I could say risk management is really a key element of the program management and it is deeply embedded into the program governance framework. Risks are proactively identified throughout the entire program lifecycle with cross-functional team uh, working on that and collaborating to surface early risks. And then each risk is assessed for its potential impact and likelihood. Team members work together to develop a mitigation plan that would minimize the impact and reduce the probability. But I would say risk management, it's everybody's job. Everybody should really be able to communicate and identify risks. Then we continually really monitor for those changes in risk status or new development. It's a very well established and structured process.
Basically, you're managing variability in an operations science context. That's risk. Just basically is managing variability, right? There's a range of things that can happen, and you've got to decide what range you're going to address. So when you were planning say a year-long path to market, how do you think about the critical path and the resource constraints across different sites? Do you actually do capacity calculations and looking for blind spots?
Yes, all these factors can potentially create constraints, and mitigating and avoiding those variables is key for the successful outcome. Those variables could be avoided through systematic approach and careful planning and anticipation of potential constraints, as well as effective management of critical paths and interdependencies. As you mentioned, yeah, establishing comprehensive technical governance is key to overseeing technical capabilities and involving a dedicated team to focus on manufacturing and industrialization strategy to smooth out the ramp up process. As you just mentioned, potential regulatory variability is minimized through continuous monitoring of the regulatory landscape and early change management planning and engaging a regulatory lead in the early phase of the product development. And potential Delays in supply chain could be mitigated by supply chain resilience through optimized procurement and localized production if possible, and efficiency in the inventory management. It is important to have standardized vendor selection process and risk assessment of vendors, as well as diversify the supply chain, especially for critical components. It's really, really important. Resource constraints are tackled by applying global resource planning with visualization of site-specific constraints to balance workload and avoid bottlenecks. Some gaps in specific skill sets are addressed by leveraging a global shared resource pool. It's a group of domain experts who support various processes and can quickly be engaged to provide that search support when necessary. So more or less, that's our areas that really need to be.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things here. I mean, in an operations science context, capacity is the number one concern. I mean, if you don't have the right capacity, everything else goes out the window when you're planning. It sounds like you've got a lot of different strategies for that. The flexible capacity, the surge capacity is always good to have either third party vendors or different sites around the world to weigh in. When you're using looking at resource constraints, and you mentioned using standard program management tools. What are some of the tools that you're using? Is it like Primavera, or is it just Excel or Microsoft Project, or what else are you using as part of your project management toolkit?
Yeah, we have a comprehensive project management tool. It's called Celoxys. I if I can mention that, but yeah, it's a comprehensive management tool where we record labor and keep track of risks as well. It's incorporated in all sites, so they use it consistently.
So that's a commercial software package that you use to for project management.
We are looking in different solutions that could be even more comprehensive, but I cannot really comment more about that.
No, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just wondering because I mean, there are a lot of some people just use Excel, right? Some people use Microsoft Project, and then Oracle using Primavera is just used by very many people. Just one of the things that we found, I used to work with a Project Production Institute where they apply the concepts of operation science to projects because project management is basically a production process. You have resources, you have capacity. It's the same relationships in operation science as it is for hospitals or manufacturing or whatever. So, yeah, I was just trying to get a sense of the tools that you guys are using, but it does sound like you at least recognize and monitor actively your resource requirements, which is the number one requirement for being successful.
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned back to where we started a little bit. You mentioned a high performing diverse team requires trust. What are some of the other things you do to build trust across cultures and time zones other than your initial meetings? I mean, well, let me ask it a different way. You talked a little bit about the things you do with the meetings, defining standard tools, defining standard practices. How do you recognize when do you what do you signs do you see that makes you realize that maybe well we've done a good job here, we've established the trust that we need to run the program successfully? What are the signs you look for a high performing team?
When we have that open communication, people are engaged in the problem solving discussions. They feel at ease to share different ideas, to challenge others, have that sense of accountability and ownership. Yeah, trust building may take some time, especially when you have teams spread across different locations. So, as I mentioned earlier, intentional effort in building trust is crucial, and getting to know each other. Knowledge sharing, different cross functional trainings are helpful as well. Engaging the team in strategy planning, also goal setting exercise. So they're really committed to the goals and objectives. They understand them. And on the personal level, to build trust, I would say demonstrate reliability, deliver commitments consistently to build credibility by accessible and responsive, showing that you value your team time and validate their needs, their requests for support. And it is really important to celebrate all the achievements and praise the team openly to promote that culture of respect and recognition, keeping the mood light and bringing that positive energy to boost team productivity and performance. I think it's important and keep the enthusiasm high. This could reduce stress and help the team to overcome challenges easy. It really makes a difference, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, tension creates stress, which tends to definitely make people less effective. So let's talk about that for a second. Conflict resolution. You're always going to have conflicts with teams. What are some of your strategies for effective resolution of conflicts?
Being really open about it, consider uh, build that culture of open dialogue and a healthy challenge process, and don't consider mistakes as failures, but more like a lessons and learning opportunities. So with each mistake, we get better and better. We have also so-called after action review, and we review each stage, what have been done so far good, what could have been done a little bit better. So it's a really very good learning opportunity for everybody to participate at their talks and share their opinion and their perspectives, because people may have different perspectives, and it's good really to hear all those different opinions and understand the whole picture.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I tell you what, you're singing music to one of our advisors' ears. I don't know if you know Mark Graban, but he wrote a book called My Favorite Mistake. And that idea of treating mistakes as learning experiences. And there's something he calls psychological safety, where people feel safe to have differences of opinion and be able to resolve that because everybody makes mistake. The question is, how do you handle that? And how do you be productive about handling those? That goes a long way to keeping the stress level down in teams, in any team.
Yes, totally agree. Yes.
Okay, you said you aim to be more of a facilitator in your leadership style than a top-down decision maker. What does that look like day to day for you? How do you create space for people to be heard? But then, if you're the manager, you have to make a call sometime and say, "We're going in this direction, not that direction." How do you manage that role as a facilitator leader?
Yes, being a facilitator means guiding rather than commanding, fostering a culture of trust and openness, and enabling your team collective intelligence to surface by encouraging a constructive dialogue and a healthy challenge process. And being a facilitator doesn't mean absence of directions. You still set clear goals, define timeline, be assertive about what needs to happen and how needs to be accomplished, but allow the team really to make decisions in their own area of expertise and be agile, able to understand when you need to step in and to step back, be active listener, support the team in that whole process. More like I think I believe that this approach really not only drives innovations but also strengthens team cohesion and performance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you hit on a key point there. Being a facilitator doesn't mean that you don't make decisions, right? I mean, somebody being a good facilitator, it's good. People need to know where they're going, right? If you're just always saying, "Well, let's let the group decide," that doesn't really work. You need to have a clear direction. But that sounds like you've got a lot of good experience in that regard, and that's a very effective approach, I think, to leadership, and not just for projects in any kind of role as a leader. Definitely. All right, great. So let's switch let's switch topics a little bit and talk about Diana Dimitrova, the person. Where'd you grow up, and who or what in your early life influenced you to be where you are today?
I grew up in Southeast Europe, a country called Bulgaria, in a family where education and professional growth were highly valued. Some of my fondest childhood memories are of family gatherings and celebration of different occasions. I enjoy listening to the conversation of my parents and other family members about their careers and accomplishments, about global economy and travel. I have family members living abroad and having different national culture, and they all have different professional backgrounds. So I believe that early exposure really made me more open to different perspectives and nurtured my curiosity and ability to work with people from diverse background and culture.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So your mother and father, were they, what were their careers?
My father was an engineer and my mother was an accountant.
Okay, all right. So a lot of the science, technology, engineering, maths, the STEM um, background there. Yeah, that definitely would make a difference. Well, it looks like it's worked out pretty well.
I hope so. Yeah.
So when we talked, you mentioned you're spending Thanksgiving with your husband and daughter as a smaller family gathering. What is time together? What do you and your family do together when you're not managing global projects and coordinating teams across the world?
We all have really busy schedules, so making it a priority to spend some quality time together, whether it's sharing a home cooked meal or enjoying different hobbies like playing tennis or skiing in the winter or just watching a movie. It's really important to spend some quality time together.
So I heard tennis there. What are your hobbies? Is tennis one of them?
Tennis, we all love to travel. I also practice yoga, listening to the music. We enjoy spending time with friends, going outside, trying new restaurants, going to concerts, just the regular stuff.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So, what advice would you give to somebody early in their career who wants to, who might be interested in program management as a career?
Well, I would say to them to be willing to step outside of their comfort zone, be willing to learn, not to be afraid of trying new things, and not to be afraid of failure, as we talked about earlier, perceiving drawbacks as lessons that make them stronger and better. The journey is not easy. I would say sometimes it's really challenging, but never boring and always rewarding.
Yeah. So, what have you seen as your biggest challenges throughout your career? A couple of them.
Yeah, as we talk about working with different people with different personalities, getting to know them, understanding what their expectations are, really human and people's knowledge sometimes is really crucial, I would say. And every project is something new you need to learn, understand, and be really fast in that learning process and collaborating with everybody and keeping the mood light and being always 100%. It's not an easy task. Managing stakeholders' interests.
Yeah, all of that. So, when you're looking ahead in your career, I mean, are there any particular things you're interested in learning and adding to your toolkit in your experience?
Well, I'm a lifelong learner. I always enjoy learning new things. For now, near term, I'm really focused on getting better at what I'm doing, expanding my role and responsibilities as a project and program manager. And I will say the path would reveal itself when with my progress. So I believe in the future I may experiment different things and I may consider people's management. The time will show.
Well, you're right in the middle of your career, and seem like you're being successful at it. So, congratulations on that. Okay, Last question. If your daughter was listening to this episode in 10 or 15 years, what would you hope that she takes away from how you approach your work and your life?
Yeah, that's a big one. We have a responsibility for the future generation, right? So I really try to be her role model and being good at what I'm doing and dedicated. So I hope she understands the importance of approaching both work and life with integrity, dedication, and understanding of choices she makes and how they impact her and her surrounding. Hope she will be keeping an open mind, be authentic, respect others, stay true to her own values, and equally important to have fun, make time for things she likes, and practice self care.
Yeah, that's awesome. My dad had a pretty good expression. He would always say, like what you learn, don't only learn what you like. So that's a pretty good summary. Well, listen, Diana, it's been both very insightful and delightful having this conversation and listen to your experience about program management. Hopefully, maybe we can revisit it again in a few years. But thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm sure the audience will get a lot out of it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
The Operation Science podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. Join the Operation Science Institute at opscience.org. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode. The views expressed by our guests are their own and do not represent their company's views unless specifically stated as such.